The first signs were subtle, a sharper chill in the air, a strange silvery quality to the morning light that seemed to linger over the land. The world felt quieter, as if holding its breath, waiting for something to arrive. Along the western seaboard, we know the Atlantic's moods well, its tempests, and its calms. But this was different. There was a tension in the air, a sense of anticipation that set nerves on edge. Forecasts warned of a rare collision, a deep low-pressure system, meeting Arctic air, a convergence not seen in years. This was not just another winter storm, but something more powerful, more unpredictable, a force that would test the limits of endurance. The wind began as a low moan, rising steadily, seeping through ancient stone walls and promising a long, restless night ahead. It crept into every crack, carrying with it the scent of salt and ice. By afternoon, it was a full-throated howl. The sea turned wild and furious, waves hammering the cliffs with relentless force, the wind tearing at everything in its path, trees, rooftops, even the very earth itself. Outside, the world blurred into a wild, chaotic dance of wind and rain. Even the sheep and birds vanished, seeking shelter wherever they could, as if nature itself was retreating from the onslaught. Power flickered, a reminder of our fragile connection to the modern world. Each time the lights dimmed, we braced ourselves, wondering if this time they would go out for good. The house felt like a ship adrift, battered by a relentless force pressing at the glass, rattling the doors, and making the walls tremble. Every gust seemed to test the strength of our shelter. Night brought the storm's peak, darkness broken only by flashes of lightning and the white spray as waves exploded against the shore. The roar outside was unceasing, a constant reminder of nature's power. The wind's force was astonishing, making even a few steps outside impossible. Rain stung like needles, driving sideways, turning the familiar landscape into a hostile alien world. We listened to radio reports of downed trees and blocked roads. The storm was isolating us, cutting us off from neighbors and the outside world, making us realize how quickly life can change. It was humbling, a stark reminder that, for all our progress in technology, we remain at the mercy of the weather. The storm reduced us to spectators, powerless against its might. In the heart of the storm, we were small figures in a vast, untamable landscape, witnesses to the raw, unyielding fury of the Arctic as it swept across our world, leaving us awed and deeply humbled. The transition was eerie, almost otherworldly, as if the world itself was holding its breath. In the deep hours of the night, the wind's relentless roar slowly faded away, replaced by a heavy, unnatural silence that seemed to press in from all sides. Stepping outside before dawn, the reason for this hush became clear. The wind had shifted, now carrying a biting, razor-sharp cold that cut through every layer. The rain had vanished, replaced by a fine mist of freezing particles. The Arctic air mass had arrived, blanketing everything in its path. Temperatures plummeted rapidly, puddles froze solid, and every surface became slick and treacherous, turning simple steps into a challenge. The world outside transformed overnight, shifting from wild, chaotic motion to a haunting, frozen stillness. The danger now was subtle and insidious. While the storm's threat was obvious and loud, the freeze crept in quietly, almost unnoticed at first. Water thrown ashore by the storm froze in place, turning puddles and pathways into invisible sheets of black ice. Power lines and tree branches became glazed over, encased in heavy, shimmering ice that weighed them down dangerously. At dawn, the landscape was breathtaking. Every blade of grass, every twig, every surface coated in delicate crystalline frost that sparkled in the first light. The storm's fury had passed, but a new hazard remained, lurking quietly in the aftermath. The howling gale had tested our endurance. Now, the silent ice demanded our caution and respect. The peril hadn't disappeared. It had simply changed form, becoming less obvious but no less dangerous. We faced a world that was stunningly beautiful yet undeniably treacherous, where every step required vigilance. When gale-force winds collide with a sudden intense freeze, the danger multiplies dramatically, especially along the vulnerable coastline, where the elements are at their most extreme. The storm churned up relentless, heavy, salt-laden sea spray, drenching everything in its path. Buildings, roads, and even the air itself became saturated with moisture. Normally, this water would simply drain away or evaporate, but the sudden Arctic blast froze it instantly, trapping the salty spray wherever it landed. Salt water's lower freezing point usually keeps it liquid, but the sheer volume of spray and the relentless cold overwhelmed nature's defenses, forming dense, treacherous layers of slippery ice everywhere. Coastal roads became invisible traps. Black ice turned the tarmac into a dangerous skid pan, catching drivers and pedestrians off guard. Buildings, utility poles, and power lines were quickly coated in thick ice, the growing weight threatening to snap branches, collapse wires, and cause widespread outages. Even a simple walk outside became hazardous. Slippery ground below made every step risky, while falling ice from above posed a constant threat. This phenomenon, known as coastal icing, is a stark reminder that while wind and cold alone are challenging, together they create a truly formidable and unpredictable threat. The storm provides the relentless water, and the freeze transforms it into a weapon, turning every surface into a potential hazard. The once familiar coastline became alien and hostile, its breathtaking beauty now masking deep, hidden dangers beneath the ice. Every aspect of daily life, travel, communication, even the simple act of stepping outside, was disrupted and affected by the relentless ice. The entire landscape was transformed overnight, and caution became our constant companion as we navigated this new, frozen world. In this harsh, frozen environment, survival meant vigilance, adaptability, and a deep respect for the power of nature. At the water's edge, the transformation was most dramatic. Beaches and piers became surreal, frozen sculptures, sea spray layered into fantastic, dangerous forms. Sand vanished under a crust of ice, rocks and breakwaters wore thick, lumpy armor. Walking the shore was impossible, every step a gamble on frosted glass. Piers and jetties groaned under the weight of dense ice, their structures strained to the limit. Boats were glazed over, ropes frozen solid, decks turned to skating rinks. Icicles hung like bludgeons, some weighing hundreds of pounds. The scene was dazzling, refracting sunlight like a crystal kingdom. But beneath the beauty lurked danger. Ice compromised every structure, threatening collapse. Nature was both artist and ruthless engineer, sculpting chaos from the storm. The freeze reached far inland, turning rural roads into hazardous zones. Flooded bends and shaded dips became sheets of black ice, even main roads overwhelmed by slush and refreezing. Isolated families were cut off, driving became reckless, homes became sanctuaries. The silence was broken only by tractors with chains, clearing paths or delivering supplies. The ice also attacked homes. Water in roofs and walls froze, expanding and causing damage. Gutters filled with frozen debris pulled away from eaves, water backed up into attics. Inside, drafts became icy intrusions, windows frosted over, pipes at risk of freezing and bursting. Taps were left dripping, a small ritual to prevent disaster. The house was a fragile refuge, requiring constant vigilance. Survival meant adapting and waiting for the thaw. The Arctic blast disrupted daily life across the region. Schools closed, parents juggled work and childcare, and the novelty of snow days faded into the challenge of keeping everyone warm and fed. The elderly and vulnerable faced acute isolation. A fall on ice could be catastrophic. Community volunteers became lifelines, delivering food, fuel, and medication. The cold froze the landscape but warmed the heart of the community, solidarity in crisis. Farmers struggled, livestock needed water, but pipes and troughs froze, and newborn animals faced deadly wind chill. Small businesses suffered as roads closed and customers vanished. The freeze was a financial blow to an already fragile rural economy. The psychological toll grew: confinement, anxiety, and longing for a thaw. Simple pleasures disappeared, replaced by a lesson in patience and endurance. The days were short, the nights long and cold. We waited together for the ice to loosen its grip. For fishermen, coastal icing was devastating. Their workplace became a no-go zone. Piers and boats were encased in ice, making access impossible and putting to sea unthinkable. The fleet was trapped, income lost, bills mounting. Fishermen used the downtime for repairs, but frustration and worry grew. Emergency workers faced their own challenges. Ambulance crews, firefighters, and gardaí navigated treacherous roads, every call a risk. Paramedics carried patients over ice, Fire services watched for house fires as people relied on risky heating. Coast Guard and RNLI volunteers stood ready, knowing rescues would be perilous in these conditions. Launching lifeboats on icy slipways was dangerous. Survival times in the water were short. Their bravery reassured us. No matter the weather, some would always answer the call. In the worst conditions, community and courage shone brightest. Surviving an Arctic blast requires preparation and common sense. Heed official weather warnings. When Met Ariane issues a red or orange alert, stay indoors. Secure loose objects outside before the storm. Inside, focus on warmth and safety. Prepare an emergency kit, torches, batteries, radio, power bank, food, and water for at least 3 days. Know where your water stopcock is in case pipes burst. Dress in layers, keep blankets ready, and check on vulnerable neighbors. Community solidarity, sharing resources and support, makes all the difference. After the storm, remain cautious, wear sturdy footwear, walk carefully, and drive only if necessary. The thaw is slow, ice lingers long after skies clear. Patience and vigilance are key to staying safe. The thaw came gradually, a gentle drip replacing the silence of ice. Sunlight returned, temperatures crept above zero, and the brutal ice began to fail. Roads became passable, fields turned green, and birdsong returned. Life resumed, the world exhaled in relief. Neighbors cleared debris, repaired damage, and council crews managed meltwater and flooding. Fishermen returned to their boats, assessing the toll. There was a shared sense of having endured something significant together. The Arctic blast was our shy lesson in vulnerability and resilience. It underscored the need for preparedness and community. As the ice melted, the lessons remained. Reminders to be ready, to care for each other, and to respect the power of nature. Brighter, warmer days would come, but the memory of the Great Freeze would endure.